I swear I go live and then my kids come down the stairs. It's like they have a radar. Sorry guys, I was getting JC is gonna come on and she's gonna kind of talk because she's from around the area. She knows the case pretty well, so she's gonna hop on. I'm gonna send her the link. And then I'm going to read these comments that people left me real quick while we see who hops on. I'm going to share it to the page. Let me copy here. I'm doing something different, you guys. I have figured out how to split screen my laptop, so I have the comments in my face, so that way maybe I can start to remember to look at them and answer your guys' questions and get familiar with that. So hold on, let me grab this link for Jenny. See, it's hard for me to talk and do anything but walk, and that's iffy at best. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm coming, Jenny, if that's you. Here you go. So I went back through Katie's interview that I'd given with a friend. A lot of the families come up here and they're just like blurting it out, and I'm asking questions, and it's just really relaxed and just raw and unedited. And so the plan was always to do this, like I was saying in my earlier life. It was always to do this, come back, go through that, and come talk about it with you guys. So that's what we're going to do tonight with Miss Katie. Let me. From last time, this is the lie. I just kept it and changed the time. I made her a mod. Oh, this is the one. I've been looking for this comment. I've been making notes from several cases, seeing as this one is in Kentucky, and that can have some overlapping parts of Tennessee and stuff. I'm wondering if this isn't something much bigger. You are absolutely right, because where she is, if you go look it up, she went missing from the Bugtussle, Akersville area in Kentucky. Okay, and if you go map it, which I can pull up for you guys if you want me to, I would love to do that. It's right there on the Tennessee line, y'all. In the interview, actually, we'll go over, they talk about one of the last days that Katie was seen. They had actually went to go pay the electric bill, and they had to cross over to the Tennessee line to go pay it because that electric company covered many counties around. So, I mean, that's right where they were. They were right there on that line. And one of the things I've wondered is, could she have been walking and somebody pick her up and taken her over the line? Could she have been walking and somebody hit her and cross the line? Like, it's just right there. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I thank you for even taking on some of these cases. Any creator out there, do what she's doing. Watch them. Do what I did. Recap it. Write down your questions. Write down your notes. Come talk to me. Come on panel. I'm going to start dropping my link so you guys can come up and discuss that with me. Anybody, people who are brave enough to come on screen and ask their questions and kind of want to talk about it. That's what we're going to start doing with the things with the cases that I've covered. So I am really going to stick to these notes as we go down them, and then I will kind of, afterwards or in between give my, my perspective. These are my opinions, my thoughts based on talking to who I have talked to. My opinions and my beliefs don't necessarily reflect theirs, as I am an outsider. I'm in Ohio. I am not in the situation, It's my perspective. So please know that there are groups. I have hers pinned in the description. Go look, go form your own opinions, go and, and come back and talk about them with me if you want. So just know that this is all. And I'm doing that based off of the accounts and the people I've talked to. With Katie, it's so crazy. I was saying again in my earlier live, like, she went, let me pop up here, Miss Katie. She went missing in October. It said that she was last seen on October 1st. Here, let me pop this up for you here. On October 1st, and I was saying earlier, she was, from what I've learned, officially reported missing on around the 11th. And it's about Halloween time, and it's just so spooky. When I was talking to the family friend that I gave the interview with, it was just chilling just to hear them. Even when they did have people come in, and search dogs, there was just no trace. And just hearing them talk, like she just stepped out of the door and there is no trace of her. They really mean it. There is none. And it is a very wooded area, curvy, way out in the ever-loving boondocks. Like, I'm from Ohio. Okay, we have our moments here, but that's right. And I just imagine people just sitting around and talking about this, and the family friend even said there have been wild stories. And I bet, and it's spooky, because we know that you just don't vanish, Somebody knows something. I was watching the interview with her mother gave, and I agree with a lot of things that she said in there. I have not had the pleasure of talking with her mother, but my door is always open. I always offer. I don't like to bother. I respect privacy. I understand it, but my door is open. Do not ever be afraid to reach out. There are a lot of questions that, only she can answer, if she can. This is, an open missing persons case, understandably. But I agree with a lot of things that she said in her interview she gave, and just hearing her just describe, it's just all around chilling, knowing that there has not been one single thing, one lead, one tip that ever, perked their ears, and there's just been nothing. And it's heartbreaking. One of the things I do agree on is, and it was refreshing to hear, because since the beginning, since the interview aired with family friend, I've just, not even reaching out to me. I have many other cases where friends, haven't reached out to me, but you see other places, groups on the pages, on their pages, on any, and I just don't see that. So it was very interesting to hear her say, where are her friends? I've asked myself that same question, because I would hope that my friends would miss me, and they would be, making that known at the very least. And it makes you question, why not? And as we go further on, we'll go deeper into that. So yeah, I do agree. There's things that she can only answer. I would love to talk to her. So, and that gap being one of them. So we're going to dive into it. And this is with the interview that I gave with family friend. And my highlights, the things that I perk my ears, that, I encourage you to go watch it yourselves, like I said, and form your own, and come back. So, Katie Cawthorn, she was last, according to her mother, and what I've learned, like I said, I haven't talked to her, but it was October 1st, 2019. Now, Katie would stay in between her mom and dad. It was normal. So on this particular time, her dad had dropped her off at her mom's house. And that's one of the things, only I feel like, the mother could give more of a timeline. I feel like that was very beneficial. People could place themselves with a timeline and a time. So, what time was she dropped off? Just things like that, you know what I mean? Hey.
Hello.
I am going to take I'm going to leave that up if you don't mind.
Okay.
Just so everybody can see her pretty face. She's so pretty. Everybody talked to her. She's so that I have, I've seen. She was a very, very bubbly, like that smile. You walk into a room, I feel it. I feel it through here. She was just she had her struggles, but she was a very good person, and that's what. I'm not saying it happens to anybody, but I can think of people that are here that I wouldn't mind out there. But she seemed like a wonderful person. She had a young son, and we'll get more into that. So I'm glad you're here to go over it with me.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was just telling him, she was on her flyer. It says that she was last seen October 2019, and she was going back and forth between her mom and dad's house, and and that's where it gets a little iffy, because she wasn't, officially, from what I've seen from the family interview, on the report was the 11th when it all came and said and done. So like there's this gap that I've obviously have a lot of questions about. And one of the things, what time was she dropped off? Is the same day that she went to pay the electric the same day that she was dropped off? Because that's the day, when she went to go pay the electric, they came back, and that's when she went missing. So is that the same day she got dropped off? And what time did they come back? What time did she go lay down? I would like to talk to her. She gave an interview. I know you've seen it.
Right. I have watched that. He was a Jarrett. I forgot his name. Brandon Jarrett, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I put it on my community page and my Facebook. Yes.
Yeah. Some of those things that her mom said really brought some questions that I feel weren't discussed. Sorry, I'm heading to Duncan. I'm about to pass out from being up since 1 o'clock this morning. They said something about a cornfield that she would have had.
A bean field. It's a bean field. And that was one of the things, like, okay, so hold on. Let me get there. So
that was something,
because her dad drops her off, and this is where Katie struggled with addiction, but she was, as far in all accounts, she was ready to get clean. She was going to regain custody of her son. At this time, she did not have custody of her son due to her addiction. Early on, I had some family members on that side kind of not really bash her, but kind of, oh, she wasn't even seeing that. And I can imagine, because it's a very selfish thing, drug addiction, but I think when it came to this point, I think she was, by other accounts, she was really, really trying to get herself together for her son, to regain custody back, to take those steps. So much that she had a court date set in place to go get a routine, structured help. She was trying to kick it, many times, and she just couldn't do it by herself. So she wanted to go get help. So her dad was scheduled to come back and pick her up in a few days. So that way she could go. She wanted to go spend time with her mom for a little bit, go say goodbye to friend. She was really gearing up for it. And then she just vanishes and she never got the chance. So, which brings me
Yeah, that
to the bean field. One of the theories was, there's this creek that they would go down, and all of her friends would meet up at this creek. And there's a bean field in the area that she would cut through to get to that, if I'm correct. But it was a bean field, from what I do
I
remember.
it was a field, a vegetable field, and I had wondered if the farmers had checked that field.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So,
Mango, pineapple.
you have this gap, and that's my biggest things is we don't know. There's a lot we don't know, and from the interview given by the family friend, they didn't really know at the time. I reached out to them before I came on and did this and asked for any updates, and honestly, they haven't even talked to anybody since, I think they said October
I know it's
last
been
year. So it's been a while.
my
But nobody knows about that gap. I mean, I from what I've gathered, I haven't found out, what time they went to pay the electric, what time they came back, what time maybe she went to take a nap, and what time she could have gone out the door. So that way it would narrow things down.
it definitely would.
And one of the things is, did she make it? They talked to the friend, said nope, she's never made it here. So when they actually reported her missing, though, okay, they didn't do anything. They didn't take it serious, from what I've talked about with the family friend. They didn't do a search. They did nothing
Do a search.
like that. They didn't bring any dogs. I mean, nothing. Nothing.
I mean,
So,
hard.
but yeah, and she did not have a phone. That made it even harder. A lot of speculation and talk out there was she left her phone behind. And, that really made, there was a lot of speculation around the mom for good reason. Healthy, she was the last place she was seen. They had an argument. She wanted, and I didn't know this until I watched the interview that she had given. The argument was about her actually going to the creek, and her mom did not want to drop her off. So they continued home.
Right.
But before then, I didn't know. So it was iffy. A lot of people questioned it naturally. Yeah, from then all we knew before her interview was they had an argument. She laid down, she woke up, poof, she disappeared, and lo and behold, she left her phone behind. But she didn't have a phone. That was, I don't know how that got out there, but that was completely false.
I'm
Which made it even harder because you couldn't go into her phone and see who she was talking to. You couldn't do a locate. You couldn't do any of the things that you could do. None of the friends said that she had a secret person she was talking to, she'd meet up with. Nothing to that nature. And that's about all we know of the friend, on that point.
I haven't really found anything about her friends. I found a couple of shady characters on her friends' page, but
Now I've heard. I'm not going to talk about it on here, but I've heard something along the lines in the wind of some groups clashing. But that's as far as I'm going to for
right.
now on that. But I've seen some, another person. Something happened to and I've seen some same friends in that close knit group, I should say. But which is, I have all my questions. I don't care. If I went missing and my friends stayed silent, they don't even miss me. Nobody misses me? Okay. And that just makes me have a lot of questions for them. I wonder if she did in fact make it down to that creek because, like I said, when she went, I'm going to go by the 11th because from the family's friend's account, she says she believed on the report it was the 11th. That she was reported, not last seen. So it makes things kind of, that gap makes, like I said, that gap just,
That gap is weird.
yeah. So
That gap makes me question a lot. And I know.
So by time they did go search for,
It had been too long.
they didn't search for the family, friends, those people called, let me see, where is it? Nothing was getting done. And I think by November, they decided to call the bloodhound, if I'm correct. Wait, let me see here. I have it written down. But anyways, they had to be, there we go. Here we go. Here. By the time spring came, so spring, they called Kentucky Bloodhound because she said, we didn't know, and that's one of the things that we didn't know we had to do it. And my thing, they shouldn't, that was my immediate response is you shouldn't have had to be the one. So it was spring. So she goes missing in October. By that next spring is when they officially went out with dogs.
If we start treating missing people like that, then we need to have a better protocol of what people need to do.
Yeah. Spring. And that it wasn't even them. And I'm not trying to the case has gotten handed over, by the way. It's not with those same the local Kentucky. It's not with them anymore. But they didn't really do anything. Like I said, they called in the bloodhounds. They set up. They did about 4 searches. They went down to the creek. They went through the bean field. They searched the mom's house inside and out. They had the dogs out there. There was a bag with clothes of Katie's in it that they gave the dogs a sniff. They went around doing their thing, went inside, went around, went everywhere. But they kept coming back to the vehicle because that's where that they had ended up putting the bag. So they know that they were working, but also it's a purpose, but they weren't hitting on anywhere but there. They didn't hit on the creek. They didn't hit in the woods. They didn't hit on any of the searches that they did.
Then that makes me feel like that's the last place she was.
Now, it was strange to me that it was interesting the way that, and again, this was relayed by the family friend through the bloodhound. They said, they could scent it for years and years and years, especially cadaver dogs. Because they're trying to go find bone fragments, little pieces, into that nature. And that if she would have left from there alive, they would, and she was close in the proximity, they would have found her. They would have hit on her. I thought it was interesting that they could have used a different choice of words. I don't know, but this is just what in the interview, how it was said.
That's a little weird.
She left there alive, and yeah, that just stuck with me a little bit.
Like, why would you say that?
So, and if that's what they're trained to, but yeah. So, but all in all, one of the things that the local investigators chalked it up to, and what took so long was, she went missing in 2019. COVID broke out. It was nuts. Everybody was buying toilet paper. It was the end of the world. And it just kind of, so nobody was able to be brought in to be questioned. Nobody was brought in. And there was a lot of speculation in that time running wild. So right before we did that interview, they were opening that stuff back up to do. And one of the things that they did, her being the last scene, she did take a lie detector test, the mom, and she passed it. Good. So for me, that means, that we don't need to talk about it anymore. At least, um, and we can move on to something else at least. Like let's stay away from that. That's just my opinion. There could be other. I mean, like for instance, did she make it to that creek after all?
And
I have not heard or seen anybody anywhere from those friends from the creek say nothing
I
either
have
way.
of
No
her.
pictures, no missing you, no nothing.
I have only seen things from her sisters.
Well, and like I said before you hopped on, it was just interesting to hear the mom. I agreed with a lot of things that her mom was saying. Um, Somebody knows something. You know, I remember doing a early on little 2-3 minute video on her, and I brought up the map. If anybody wants to go look at it, or I can bring up the map here again. But the roads are just so windy. You know, there are other possibilities. Could have car rounded and hit her, place took her with her. Like I said, well, it's right there by the Kentucky line. And they could have continued on their way. I was asking, did anybody around that time come in with a damaged vehicle to get repaired? Anything like that. Because that could happen. Um, did somebody just pick her up and continue on? It could happen. Or did she, I'm left with the creek. Did she make it down to that creek? And did something happen? And if so, why is everybody saying that they didn't see her? So those are my biggest questions. And it was nice to hear them, like the mother has the same thoughts as far as, did she go down to the creek? And where are her friends?
I would almost feel like she did go to the creek, but I don't know why the dog didn't hit on that.
But the dog didn't hit in the bean field. The dog didn't hit outside the house, inside the house, nowhere but that bag in the car in the driveway. They did 4 other searches in wooded areas and nothing, nowhere. They didn't even, literally the way that it sound, just by her describing it. They didn't know when you stepped out of the door, they didn't know whether to go right or whether to go left.
That's really weird.
Isn't it though? I mean, and I'm naive because I don't know anything about dog sniffing, the cadaver dogs. I don't know. And that's why I come on here and I say that I don't know, because I know people out there do know.
A friend of mine.
Could that scent have been gone? At the time it was almost flooded by the interview that we gave. They described it as it being flooded. It rained heavily that week. And then on top of that, you went through snow, you had winter, and then spring. Could the scent
have
have been gone? But then you go back to them saying, well, if there were bones out there, regardless, they would have hit on them. So that just makes you, it's so crazy. That's why it's so chilling to me. There's no lead. There has been crazy tips. I had somebody reach out to me and relayed something that they had received, and I just go through the proper channels. I kind of hint, do my thing, and turns out that Katie and the investigator, they already knew this person, and they were shocked that by the time we did the interview and I started talking about it, that this person was still out there saying stuff. And so it was but it was still good that they knew, so
Right.
they can handle and keep track of them. Whether or not it wasn't, that's not my job, that's not my area, but it was shocking that they already knew who this person was and they were still out doing it. And this was just late last year. So,
So either that person knows something,
and it
or
just, that's how yeah, and that's the way I looked at it, is either because the things that they were saying were just, shoo, and, even in the interview, she'll tell you they have a binder full of tips and leads that are just outrageous, but they take them all. And every family I've talked, that's all they want. They don't want us to decide what is what. They want us to hand it and let them decide.
I would be afraid to try to decide what is what with some of these
Yeah,
people.
but that's the thing. Like with
I've seen
that's
some.
the thing. I know. Like, Diana Gonzalez. I've talked about her on here.
Right.
She has gone. There's no trace, no van, no nothing. But even we have this last altercation with her living girlfriend. They share the same residence. We have something somewhere that they could start if they wanted to get off their ass and actually do something in Imperial County. But that's just my thoughts. They have somewhere, but I feel like with Katie, there is just no direction to turn. And it's really going to, I believe what her mom said, somebody knows. And at this point, it's going to take somebody coming forward to
Yeah.
tell.
I will be back on here in just a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's crazy. So I will let you want me to put you off, or are you going off?
Just put me off.
Okay. There we go. So it's so crazy. And that's why I mean by spooky. I don't know what you mean your, rendition of spooky is, but to me, that is very spooky. And I can't imagine. I cannot imagine how hard that has to be. A lot of people have thought maybe she left. Maybe she planned this and she just didn't want to be around. My opinion, again, just by hearing and seeing, I do not think that is possible. Back in the early 2000s, Katie's family lost a brother. We learned in the interview he was shot, and then not 6 months later, another brother was lost in a drowning. You know, and everybody that said Katie knew, Katie's seen what that did. She was very close with her dad. She checked in. She was struggling. She was going through a thing. And I get that for my own reasons. If you're short, hey mom, let me borrow $20 for a pack of cigarettes, or, so they had that relationship. She was in very much constant contact. But the one thing is she would never walk away and have no contact, knowing what her family has gone through. They have suffered loss twice over that I couldn't even imagine. You know what I mean? But they have somewhere to get. They know what happened. And, they almost feel like this is worse because they do not know. If she's gone, they don't have a place to go. They don't know. And that's just what makes it so much difficult. So no, they don't believe. They fully understand, yes, that she was grown. She could have, but she wouldn't. Even if she would have that contact. Maybe because people have said maybe she left because she didn't want to go to her court date and go to rehab. But that's the thing, nobody, in as much as she was struggling, no, they weren't in it, but they wouldn't have forced her to go. If she didn't want to go, would it suck for them? Yes, obviously. But they wouldn't have drug her to the car, put her in, and forced her to go. So that would not have been a reason for her. There would have been no reason. And she just wouldn't have done it. It's absolutely crazy. And I really, like I said, I know that this is an open case and investigation. And there's a lot we may not be able to know, like a timeline. But I think at some points in investigations that go on, there's so much. I will tell you, Gainesboro is one of them, and I keep going back to it because I've had such a unique look to it. Um, it's just, it's just. Sorry, I'm just making sure before I blabber just a little bit before I got everything that I pulled out up there. The case has been handed over a few times. And right now, it is in good hands. People are really looking into it. Like I said, they haven't spoken or corresponded. I think they said October. Um, but they do feel like they have been trying, and like I said, it's going to take a lot of people coming forward. I mean, I really think a timeline for that is, I think, you know, there comes a time where you start thinking there's so much that you do have, because I'm sure that there's something. I'm hoping like hell. There's something that they have. Um, but like I said, I feel that there comes a certain time as time goes on, you start to ask, what can we release? And I think that a timeline even just leading up to is a very good place to start. I know a lot of us can't think about what we've had for breakfast, but this is a traumatic event. As time goes on, is that going to be harder to establish, I feel? Yeah, absolutely. But I can imagine, and I'm just speaking for myself here, you give me a date, and a sort of time around, I can kind of start to piece things together from there. And I think knowing times that people don't wouldn't even think are important would be important to somebody else. So I think in Katie's situation, I think putting out a timeline of some sort just on what we know would help. I firmly stand by what Katie's mom said and what Katie's other family said and friends have said. You know, somebody had they have to know something. Something happened. It's a very rural, like even in the interview, she said, yeah, there are neighbors, but it's very spaced, very sporadic. Um, I'm just gonna do it. I keep talking about it. I'm just gonna do it. And like I said, do I think it's suspicious the friends are just like, I don't even miss my homegirl? Yeah, I do. Um, but like I said, you'll see, anything could happen in the area. Okay, I'm going to show you this because Bugtussle goes a while. And it's actually up around cemetery. If I can get it to show now. That I believe was more of the area. But here, I'll show it like this. Let me pop it up here. All right. Is it going to pop up? Can you guys see it? There we go. It might be a little slow. I got something running. I got the Gainsborough recording running in the background. I'm one of those people, I'm afraid to save it because I might lose everything. So I just have had it up. God forbid if my laptop dies or something happened. I hope it's saved. I saved it. I did save it. So I've just kind of been leaving it up. But anyways, okay, so yeah, that line right there, there's the Kentucky-Tennessee line. Okay, Bugtussle, when you put it in, it starts down here. Can you guys see that? There it goes. It starts down here, but the road is long and it travels all the way up. Okay, and this is more. There we go. Right here is more the area. I will make sure and confirm. Let me bring this out. Either way, all these windy roads, all everywhere, So another thing I mentioned was maybe, she did walk out and somebody picked her up and took her across the line. Maybe she was walking and somebody rounded the corner and accidentally hit her. Maybe they didn't mean to do it, but they didn't do the right thing. So I was asking anybody around the time, this is back in between October 1st, she was last seen. So anybody around that time, like I said, I would love to narrow the time down, but anybody within that week come in with a damaged car in some way and said they hit anybody. I think that would be a good place. I think it's a very, very, very good. And I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm just out here saying it's a possibility. If anybody's seen, and that's what I just think a timeline is just so important for. But all these roads are so windy. It's a possibility. I do believe that. I would say there's a possibility she did make it to the creek. She did make it down the street. She did. I mean, to me, even if she would have walked and somebody picked her up, would they pick up her scent? But again, this is October. You got winter, you got spring. And I want to know, the Kentucky Bloodhound, and I would imagine that they know what they're talking about. I do not, that's not what I'm saying at all. I guess I just want a second opinion. I just want to hear from everybody that this is something that could be done. Because like I said, they did 4 searches and nothing. The creek is about 3 miles from her mom's house. They all claim that she didn't show up that day. They deny seeing her at all, actually, which is strange because that was one of the reasons why she went to her mom's house. She went to her mom's house to kind of say goodbye to everybody. So I just, and again, we have this gap. And then even further, the gap in time it took to do any type of search. I just think that the ball was very much dropped. But I do think somebody out there somewhere knows something. Whether it was an accident or not, the end result is she's not here, and the family needs to bring her home. They can't imagine her being, unless, and it does happen, you guys, that somebody picked her up and she is out there and she is going to come home one day. And you hold out that hope because it does happen. So it's very hard for them to assume the worst because there is a chance. And yeah, because I don't know how I'd feel if I felt like that they were gone and dead and not knowing, and years later they come back, and yeah, it does happen. So that is a possibility. I think that's why it's very important to keep going. And if that is the case, I can tell you right now that Katie would be very proud that her family has continued to fight for her, pushed for it very hard when they thought nobody was taking them serious. I'm just making sure that I got, I feel like there is a lot that we don't know here, but I feel like there's a lot that we do at the same time. And to get all of the things that we do know out there is very important. I would like to know, now that I've gone back through the interview, and I can reach out and I will, to confirm, is when was the court date? Kind of just, I really would like to make a very detailed timeline for her as much as possible. I've done it for a few other cases that Aaron has a very, very detailed timeline that Lisa and I and other creators, I sit and I watch them, and I've gotten a timeline from information that they've talked about that I didn't, and we were able to come up with a good one. So I would like to do that for as many as I can. I believe that they're very important. People may think I'm crazy, but and I do think that now we could start to try to narrow down a timeline of events on the day that Katie disappeared. I really do. I really, as much as possible, minute by minute, if we can, especially when we don't know after she walked out that door. I'm with you. Anybody out there that's thinking, that mom, I was firmly with you until I got to talking to the family friend. I seen the interview. I just have very questions about that gap. It's nothing. It's her. Like I said, she passed a poly to me for and I'm sure they're thinking, move on to another lead. So, I have the number. Like I said, as of right now, that they do like who has the case, and they encourage everybody to call that number. I'm going to pop it up here. On the screen. It's just crazy to think about, and that is firmly, just from how the family and friends are. It's just, she vanished. She stepped out. I mean, you can't even say she stepped out onto the road. She literally vanished. There's no nothing, and nobody knows anything. And I do not believe that. They do not believe that. So we encourage, anybody who thinks has something, even if you don't think it is something, let them know, it could be that one little thing that they were missing to be like, oh, okay, this is the direction at least that we need to go in for her. Because they really don't have any, they don't have that. They don't. And we never know what could have transpired had she gone to the court date and got that help and got her life back on track. And she never got a chance to do that. And if she is out there, she needs to come back and have a chance to do that. And if she is gone and something happened, then somebody somewhere knows. And they didn't give her that chance. And to her friends, that's your friend. That's your friend. I'm just curious, is all. It's just spooky. It's just so spooky all the way around. It gives me chills. But that is all I have for you. I wish that I had more, so much more. Oh, I'm sorry. They did 3 separate searches with 4 different locations. So, if that tells you anything, and they still no scent, no nothing, nothing anywhere. And again, it had been some time, some seasons. I want to know if you know, could they still have picked up her scent? Would they have? I guess I'm not so much saying would they have been able to find her remains. I believe that if she was in that, where, yeah, I believe that they would. That's not what I'm asking. But the scent around the house, on the outside, down the road, all those places, could that withstand the elements for what it went through during that time? Could it withstand that? Could, after rain, snow, ice, sleet, what, rain again, spring, could they search around the outside of that house and down the road and all those areas and still pick up her scent? Would that be possible? I'd like to know. That's a big question I have. Especially down by the creek. Say she did make it down there. After all that, would they be able to? My opinion, I don't think so. Not that. Maybe, yes, bones and yeah, some remains, but her scent on the street, on the rocks, on the sidewalk, on the door handle when she opened up the door, closed the door, walked down the stairs, walked out onto the road, start walking. That scent, would that be there still by the time the dogs went out? Because it comes back to, by accounts, what's out there is the mom's location or the creek location. The creek location is 3 miles away. And those are the two areas that it keeps coming back to for me. Yeah. I'm just making damn sure. Yeah, a timeline, and just, really really narrowing down a timeline of events for that gap, from the 1st to the 11th, maybe the 12th, and then however further after that we need to go. But that's where I would like to start. And the only way to do that is would be to talk to her mom. I think she would be a very very good person to just sit down privately, or come on here, or both. And I hope that she watched this. I hope her friends are watching this. I hope all of you guys are watching this, and I hope that all of you want to come talk, and give some kind of account, even if it is just a timeline. I would love that. Anybody out there that is good at making timelines, hearing those detail and putting it together. Like I said, I've done a few, but um, like I said, I'm just one perspective. I'm one person. If anybody out there knows that, if you follow true crime, I've been in plenty of groups where I have just seen people able to do that. Those are the people. Katie's is going to be a tricky one, but I think, not that it's more important over the others. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, just for the amount of, I just feel like it's going to be a tricky one. But like I said, if I sit down with the right people, I think that we could start out somewhere, maybe even a vague one, um, and see what grows from it. See what happens. It is 2022. Katie went missing in 2019. Some time has passed. My hope is doing these is the right person out there hears it and decides not even to come talk to me. There are numbers, and I get talking to them. That's the only reason why I'm here. I do keep privacy. I will never put your name out there. And we have a very, we keep very very much to that. um, Go ask about me. they'll tell you they'll tell you how we do things around here. So yeah, I think it's time. And I do firmly believe that somewhere somebody knows something, even if they don't know. And I'm not saying that in like suspecting, like, oh way. I'm just saying that, and you may not even know it, but it may be important somewhere in the narrative. And it happens all the time. Not as much as we'd like, not like we see on TV. And I think long, and I think the family and the people that I've talked to and that have spoke for them believe that too. So Katie is one of the people I would love to help get they do have people in taking care. I've just spoke and reached out a few days ago before I was supposed to go on. And they are happy. They haven't spoken in a while, but they are. So, I would love I was on earlier, go check it out. I don't want to dive too much into it because this is about, you know, Katie. But I have the fundraiser. I have the t-shirt line out. There are many things in there that you can choose from. That will be going, we're going to let it sit for a month. Then I'm going to try to help put billboards up for cases like Katie. Tennessee, right over the line, they have their billboard. I would like to make that billboard grow, keep it up for a solid month, and do all of those things. And Katie is a perfect example of I would love to. If there was a billboard right around the area, the creek, somewhere people frequent, everybody, or just that perfect place that everybody's going to see. And if there's a billboard there, I would love to be able to reach out back out to them and say, hey, let's put a billboard up for a week. How much is it going to cost? That's what that fundraiser's for. So, and yeah, Katie does come to the forefront of my mind when I thought about that. I just think that the family is very supportive. The family is doing their thing, but it doesn't really trickle out too far from that. And it's just, we're going to blow her face up. And I want everybody to see her. And that's how I feel. So that's what we're doing. Go check out the video I did earlier. I have the link to it there if you guys want to go check it out. I made it to where, there's something in there for everybody, I feel. And no matter what you buy, no matter what, in that whole entire thing, that will all go towards at the end of where are we? Oh, today's the last day. May? Yeah, June's coming. At the end of June, we'll see what we got and see what we can do. And I would love to every name on that T-shirt. If they need something, if not, it'll be distributed into other. But I would love to be able to do that for the ones that need something. And it doesn't even need to be a billboard. Like I said, it can be private investigator. Go check out that video. I go into more depth with that. All I'm saying is Miss Katie I want to blow her face up. She needs more support. Okay, I am trying to call them out. I don't see no friend support. Everybody's like, yeah, she was loved. We loved her. She had lots of friends. Where are they at? I don't see them anywhere. Not to call you out, but I'm calling you out a little bit, just a tiny bit, because I'm curious. I want to know what the story is. I want to know what the deal is. Are you afraid? Are you afraid to say I miss my girl? What's going on? And then this gap, what's going on? So yeah, I guess I am a little bit. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah. And I think, yes, I think that is all. I thank you guys for sticking around. Um, share this, especially if you're in Tennessee. I know she's in Kentucky, but like we've seen, she is right over that line. And I think it's very important to hit all the areas around. Think back to the time, somebody in that area. Do they wreck a car? Do they look suspicious? No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Really don't. But I'm just saying, at the same time, I think it's important to really not associate her with Tennessee, but associate her with Tennessee because of how close she was. I have almost talked about just, putting her in the Unraveling series, but I didn't know if it would be confused. It's Unraveling Tennessee, it's Kentucky. So I haven't. But yeah, she very well could have made it over the Tennessee line. So maybe we should, yeah, it would be really a billboard right at that Tennessee line. Yeah. So, yeah, that is all I have for you guys tonight. If you have any information, please call the Kentucky State Police. You can join it's in the description. That group is family run. You can reach out. They are very I understand that one of the biggest things of reaching out is being able to remain anonymous. That's why they have anonymous tip lines. They just need the account. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. So you can reach out through the page. It is safe, it's secure, it is the one, it is confirmed. So if that, however you feel, you can reach out to me. If you don't want your name out there, I will just relay the account, the message, if you will. That's how I do it. Yeah, so please reach out. I do not want to literally hear Katie Cawthorn being told around a campfire years later because she's the one that disappeared into the woods like a ghost, because it didn't happen. Somebody knows something. I thank you guys for sticking around. That is all. Until next time, you guys stay safe and have a good night. This is TC Spotlight.